Okay, welcome to the first snow makeup day set for January 31st, which would be Saturday. I want to start things off by saying I'm very excited about this opportunity for us to work together outside of the classroom. Very, very, very excited. Before we start today's class, I just wanted to remind you that I can be reached through the week or through the weekend, whatever you decide to work on this, through My Big Campus. You can send me a message that way, or you may also send one to my school email, which is dvest@yorktown.k12.in.us. All right, so up to this point so far in class, we have talked about two mechanisms. Those are the universal joint and the bevel gear. Today I want to introduce you to our third one, which is called the simple gear train with idler. We know that the bevel gear, we talked about the shafts on that being perpendicular. If we take a look at the picture here on your left, we can notice very quickly that the input shaft, which is right here, and the output shaft, those are going to be parallel. On the bevel gear mechanism we built, we only had two gears. We had basically an input and an output, or a drive and a driven gear. On this mechanism, you notice we have a series of three gears. We again have the input gear, which is on the input shaft, or it is also known as the drive gear. Down here, we have the driven gear, or the output gear. However you guys want to remember it is fine with me. In this system, we add a third gear called the idler gear. So, we talked about two gears being meshed together. They are always going to turn in opposite directions. Again, that is just two, a drive and a driven. They will always turn opposite. Now, what do you think this idler gear will do? This idler gear is going to allow the input and output to turn in the same direction, which is what it states here on the fifth bullet point down. Again, we take this idler out of this system. The input and output will be turning in different directions again. So you might ask, why would we want to use an idler gear? What's really the point of using an idler gear? An idler gear could be used maybe if there is some sort of physical obstruction in your machine or whatever you might be using. You might have to make up a certain amount of space. That is why we can throw the idler gear in there. If you think about a vehicle transmission, okay, they go forwards and backwards. That is oftentimes called the reverse idler. That allows that shaft that drives it to go forward, and then you can also put it in reverse and also go backwards. Now, in this particular mechanism that we are going to build in class, we can see that we are going to have a ratio of 4:1. Again, that is going to be input or drive gear being 4, and the output or driven gear being 1. Okay, we've talked about the ratios a little bit. At this point, I think you guys probably have a good grasp on that. Please note that in this system, this is unlike the bevel gear. The bevel gear, the speed and torque were constant. In this mechanism, they change. So let's take a look here at speed. It says speed is decreased. And what that is referring to is your power is going in here at the handle. This is where you're going to crank. As speed comes through this system, this gear is turning, fairly fast. This idler gear is probably turning exactly the same speed. But as we come towards the output, we see that it is a much bigger gear, and it is going to take a greater time to make a full revolution. So this gear, starting in the system, is turning a lot faster than this gear in our output here, or our driven gear. So it is stated that as speed goes through the system, comes in, goes all the way through, by the time it comes to the output, it slows down. Because of that, because the speed is decreased, our torque is increased, and we know that our torque is that twisting force. So, where can we find the simple gear train with idler? Okay, just refresher here. Again, two mesh gears will rotate in the opposite direction, which is the image you see here on your left. But with the idler gear, it allows the drive and driven gears to rotate in the same direction. So take a look at this image down here. You can see, okay, we can call this one over here the drive, and this one the driven, or vice versa. And we can see that the two blue ones are going the same direction because of this idler. Whereas again, these two up here, you can see that they are going in opposite direction. The red one is turning counterclockwise, the blue gear is turning clockwise. Okay, again, the blue ones down here are turning clockwise, the red one is turning counterclockwise. Where can we find this at in real life? Again, we said a vehicle transmission. Also, maybe one of these paper transport rollers, where the ink is transferred to these rollers, and your paper goes through the machine, and then the ink is obviously printed then on your paper, and then you have a printed piece of paper. Okay, so that concludes our lecture over the simple gear train with idler. As you can see, we have a lot of similarities to the last couple builds, and we definitely have some differences. Again, this is the first system where we're noticing a difference in speed and a difference in torque. Again, going back to where we started, we know that mechanisms are generally used to do these four things. And we can see here again, change the speed of movement. Okay, and that's what we are really doing in this system, along with changing the amount of torque and force available to do work. Okay, both of those are two key points that we want to focus on. Now, when the students, you guys come in Monday, we will construct our simple gear train with idler. Okay, and here's what I want you to do before you come in to class on Monday. Make sure you guys are prepared. In this bundle down below, I am going to have a link or a document. It's going to have a series of about 7 to 8 questions for you to answer. I will have some directions further down here. I would like for you to answer those questions the best you can. Again, most of your answers you will find right here within this PowerPoint. A couple of them you might have to look up, and you're more than welcome to do that. Use whatever source necessary. Try to get those completed the best of your ability. If you have questions, again, you can send me a message on My Big Canvas, or you may send me an email. And again, thank you guys for being with me outside the classroom. Again, like I said, super excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys Monday and seeing what you came up with on some of your answers. So again, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week or weekend, and we will see you Monday.